off with verifying our timing. Basically, if you don't have these marks, like I showed during the reassembly, there is a way to find what your top dead center is so you can line up your distributor gear. This wonderful tool right here can show you exactly where in your cylinder is at top dead center. As you can see, as I move it around, and as it started to stroke back down, so right in there is my top dead center. And if you look at it, it's almost right on. So you can get a rough idea of where your top dead center is off of this. About right there. So yeah, I ended up a little off, but centering on that would be right about there at top dead center. Yeah, I got all the spark plugs removed and the fuel line disconnected. And we're going to go ahead and do the compression check. Start with cylinder 1 so you can see it as we go. So this was about 75, 80. Keep in mind the rings still need time to seat properly, and it should help build up compression as well. Still getting about the same, right around that 80 mark. Right around 80. And finally, cylinder 4. They're all sitting right around that 80 psi like they were before the rebuild. And then we'll retest this again after the full break-in as well. So what I have rigged up here is a grounding bundle for my spark plug wires. It'll make it easier doing the timing without the spark plugs in, just because there's no compression to fight against. But I got a wire pushed into each one of these, and then I have my induction clamp for my timing light attached to the cylinder 1 wire. But all these ground out together to the body, just like they would with the spark plug. Just the energy won't be going to the cylinder. And here's a close-up view of what I've been looking at. So I got it on idle right now. All right. Go again. Hold this as far as it'll go just for the spark advance. And for mine, it's 38 degrees. You should have a sticker here on the plate. If not, you'll have to look up the specs. getting about 39. I want to go to, hand me that other screwdriver, we'll need it. Told you. So you want to do the spark advance, which is the lower screw. And I'll show you more detail on that here in a minute. We're going to push that in just a little bit. Now we're a little bit low, which is good. Back it off just a hair. We're getting just before 38. If you're looking for a timing light, I just bought this off of it was either Amazon or eBay for pretty cheap. It was like 25 bucks, I think. But yeah, it takes care of what I need it to. Has the induction clamp and everything. So if you're looking for one of these for really cheap, just check out eBay or Amazon. Works perfectly fine. So here's a quick look at my old plugs. You can tell they're kind of burnt a little. Probably from the timing not being perfect. But they are about 2 years old. So it's about time to go ahead and put new plugs in since I got a fresh rebuild anyway. Here I have this really nice device. It actually has the inductive wire. Since mine doesn't have a stator or a rectifier or anything for charging, I have no regular way of getting a TAC signal, but this does an induction wire that you wrap around the ignition wire, and it sends a standardized 4-pulse signal, and you just sync it with your system so that it knows what speed this should be going at, and I'll go over that when I install it. But this way I can actually hook it up and it sends it out through the 3-wire setup to my TAC. So I'll be able to get a TAC signal to my gauge. As you can see here, I got the TAC module all wired up to the new wiring. This is a shielded cable with the three wires running through. No way I didn't have to worry about interference running along all those other power wires. It's a little hard to see, but I have the wires wrapped right there around the ignition wire as it's coming off the coil, and I have it running sheathed just to help for abrasion protection against these cables, and have it running down here. That way there's no electrical interference from other stuff as well. No electricals running through the shift and throttle cables, and then just have them go all the way through there to the box. Getting ready to start it up, verify my timing while it's running. I got the new plugs in, and we'll get this checked out. This is what the water tube is supposed to look like coming off the water pump. This is what mine ended up looking like when I pulled the lower unit back down. So I've replaced both the lower and upper sections and redid the entire water pump because it turns out the seal broke. So I still gotta swap out the fluid in the lower unit, and then she should be ready to go now. Here's a quick look at the back side. You can see the wire right there. It's got all three of them coming here to the sender, ignition, and ground. And then I got it set on a 4-pulse signal for that sender unit. Look at the Tach as well. I actually have not set this. I gotta make sure the adjustments are good on here. You can see here I repurposed a 55-gallon plastic drum to use as a water tank so I can set my idle. You want to do that in water because it's got to have back pressure on your exhaust, and it's got to be set in forward. So this is a little easier than doing it out on the lake and requiring a second person to be able to steer and so forth while you tune it, and then risking dropping tools and everything in the water. This is a lot easier. Another thing, if you do this method with the plastic 55-gallon drum, put a drain plug. Just drill a hole and put a drain plug in. They are very cheap, and you will thank me later. So what I'm doing right now is warming the engine up and trying to get the idle set up so I can adjust the carbs on the idle air mixture. hard to see with the covers on, but next we need to adjust our primary pickup. That's going to be that thing right there. And we're going to get it to where it sits pretty much right on the fork for the carburetors. And that's about where you want it to start off with. That way, as soon as you start putting throttle in, it's starting to open the butterfly on the carb. So you want that to line up pretty much right as it's about to touch, and that's where you want when you have it on your regular idle. Here's where you make the adjustments for that. You just unscrew these two screws. It loosens this plate. You then adjust the plate as needed in and out. And then you tighten these two screws back up. Now here I've got the throttle pushed forward right as it's kind of leaving the end of that primary pickup point. You want that plunger right there hitting the other side of the fork for the carb. That's gonna engage the secondary pickup, which is adjusted by that screw and lock nut, and you want that as you're finishing off, just starting to hit that, and then as you continue further, sorry, I have a lot of tension on it. As you continue further, that will push that other fork and open the butterflies the rest of the way. I'm also replacing my tank. It's still a 6-gallon, but this one has a sight gauge option as well, and then the base one just has the lip for it that you can see. So I did the cutout and put in a sending unit that's designed to fit this size, the size for this tank, and this will send up to my fuel gauge up the dash, so we get all the gauges working. There's the fuel tank actually put in. I decided to go with my old cap. I like the free flow system. It seemed to operate a little better. And then of course I got my fuel level sender. I've been working great. Haven't had any issues out of that. We're getting ready to take this thing out, make sure all the timing's good, and finish this break-in process. Here's a look at the spark plugs after that run. You can see it's pretty good. A little oil soaking, that's it. Otherwise the electrodes look good. Grounding plates look good. Just normal wear. Do that one again.
Do it again?
So I'm not sure as to why my compression is so low. I'm gonna try to get a hold of another gauge, run it again, see if we're getting anything different, but it seems to run pretty decent at 80 on the top two cylinders and around 70 on the bottom two cylinders. So they are still within 10% of each other, but still feels off. So I'm gonna try a different gauge, see how that comes out. So I got a new compression gauge. This one's a digital one, so it'll come up a lot cleaner. I have tested it. It's putting out a lot better compression reading than my old one, so I think that one was just probably out of calibration from the beginning, because pretty much that's what I've always gotten off of that other gauge. So here's cylinder one. Looks like we were getting about 112. There's the read for cylinder 2. It's in about 111. There's cylinder 3. Only get about 93, 94 out of this one. And then here's cylinder 4. Like that one's sitting about 104, 105. So it does look like all my readings are coming out pretty good with this. It was just a cheapie off of Amazon. Those, it can be iffy on whether this thing is calibrated properly or not. But the other one was actually from Harbor Freight. But otherwise, it looks. So as you saw in the run video, bottom of my boat right here, the outboard used to be about right here on the front. Now it's about almost a foot back. So I've actually got to raise the outboard. It's sitting right about level if the water came out that far, but it goes up from here. So I'm going to try to raise it roughly about 2x4 width, so about 1.5 inches up to about here, and that should help take care of that issue and get me some more speed. Here you can see the bracket. I can't really raise that any further. So what I'm going to do is build a bracket to go over this that will help hold the weight of the outboard, and raise it, like I said, about 1.5 inches up, and that should help with my issue. But I'm going to do this in another video, so that will be a future video coming up. But so that's going to do it for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, hit that like button. If you're not a subscriber, make sure to subscribe so you can get updates with my future videos as well. And I will catch you in the next one.